But one of the things that I found real interesting and most interesting to me was the library. And for some reason, I gravitated to this library, downtown library. I loved it there. Yeah, all the homeless would wash and clean and everything. Some of them would go to sleep there.
Yeah.
I spent hours reading books.
Yeah.
And it kind of was that moment where I realized I didn't want to be homeless anymore. You know, the books opened up the possibility of this dream that I had very briefly, that maybe I might be able to write a book.
I had a gig, too, when I was 9 and 10 that led sort of to reading, or encouraged it, I suppose, in a bizarre way. We look at. I talked to you about this one time on the phone at 3 in the morning when you were in Singapore or something. But I had a real weird gig. I sold the Los Angeles Daily Mirror. It was an afternoon newspaper, right, with the way of rotary phones. But I didn't sell on a corner. It was a strange gig. I would go to factories. I had like 6 factories that I went to. I would sell my papers there. And one of the factories was the Goodwill, that huge plant that's on Avenue 21. And not like the retail store, but in the back where they fixed up the bicycles and painted them and then sold them. And there was a guy who was in charge of like early recycling. I mean, this is the early 60s. So he would get newspapers and other stuff like that. Took a liking to me. And over time, he would give me comic books, stacks of comic books. And I would read all these comic books. Then he'd throw in a Saturday Review, Look magazine, Life magazine. I started reading all this stuff, you know? And I think, I certainly didn't think about it in that way at the time, but I think that was one of the things that got me interested in reading and ultimately in writing. So I'm grateful to this guy.
That's great.
You know.
My library really was right around the corner, and that was Frankie's Liquor Store and Emmanuel's Barbershop. Because you know, Frankie's Liquor Store had the comic book section.
Ah, okay.
And then of course, you know, you can find some pretty cool stuff at the
There was a
barbershop.
store in my neighborhood, a Chinito store, Chinese store.
Yeah.
There may have been Koreans, I don't know, for us they were all Chinos, you know, we were kids. But every neighborhood, it seemed, every Mexicano neighborhood had a Chinese store. And they had a rack with magazines. And the guy had written, on, you know, he didn't want kids loitering, I guess is the idea. Handwritten sign, do not read magazines. Why is this guy anti-literacy or something?
Yeah.
Because we don't know that was the only reading someone was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the comic books were definitely the portal for me. You know, I'd go to Frankie's Liquor Store, and we'd collect soda bottles, and I used to work the baptisms. You know, I know it sounds kind of peculiar.
How do you work the baptism?
The Mexicano families, after the baptism at the church, they throw what they call a bolo. They take a bunch of change and throw it to all the kids.
Yeah.
And so we'd work a couple of those, you know, and then we'd have enough, you know, money to go buy, you know,
Work
go
in
to
a bar mitzvah later.
take the Kern bus down to Whittier Boulevard.
You know, I think it was easier mugging people.
And well, you know,
And much more fun. I mean,
Yes.
some of us worked for a living.
Yeah.